Hi, my name is Alan Schleman. I'm with Stand to Reason, and I just wanted to offer a few quick comments about some things that Pat Robertson recently said about the Orlando shooting that I think have gotten a lot of people upset. And let me just give you the specific quote here that's relevant for our purposes. He said this, quote, "The left is having a dilemma of major proportions. And I think for those of us who disagree with some of their policies, the best thing to do is to sit on the sidelines and let them kill themselves." End quote. Now when you listen to his words in context, there's some debate as to whether he's referring to the left or to Muslims or to homosexuals. But many people are taking his words in the worst possible way to confirm the worst they think that Christians feel towards people who identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. Now either way, even in the best possible light, I think his comments are tone deaf in the wake of the Orlando shooting. And so I want to set the record straight as to how Christians see this tragic event. Let me be perfectly clear about three things. Number one is this: people who identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender are made in the image of God, like, by the way, all other people on the planet. And therefore they are intrinsically valuable, and they are deserving of dignity and love and respect. And there's nothing that they can do or anyone else can do that can ever remove that dignity and intrinsic worth that they deserve. Number two, we do not condone the killing of people who identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. Okay? They did not deserve to be killed. What was done to them was blatantly wrong. And it is an offense to God, it's an offense to myself, and it should be an offense to all Christians. Number three, the Bible does not teach that people who engage in homosexual behavior should be singled out for any kind of special punishment, like being killed. Now I know some people are going to say to me, but Alan, in the Bible, in Leviticus, it teaches that the punishment for homosexuality is death. Now let me offer two important clarifications about this particular passage. Number one is this: homosexuality was not the only capital crime. In fact, adultery was also a capital crime deserving of death. Children who curse their parents was also a capital crime deserving of death. Okay? So there are many types of sinful behaviors outlined in the Levitical law that deserve death as a punishment. But the only time that this command and its punishment was enforced was under the theocracy in Israel. We are no longer under that theocracy in Israel. And even when it was enforced, it was only supposed to be a punishment that was rendered by the government, not by rogue individuals who go out there and murder other people. Now the second point to remember about this passage in Leviticus is that it is part of what's called the Mosaic Law. It is one command and punishment that is part of 613 other commands that are part of this Mosaic Law, which was a contract that was established by God between God, Moses, and the people of Israel. Okay? However, that contract, that covenant, is no longer binding in the New Testament era. And the reason is because of something that Jesus says. Jesus says, "I have not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law." Which means he came to fulfill the requirements of that Mosaic law, of that Mosaic contract, and therefore render them as no longer binding on the New Testament believer. And Jesus has now established a new contract, a new covenant in his blood. And that is the current contract, the current covenant that we are currently under today. And so therefore the punishment of death for homosexual behavior, for adultery, for children cursing their parents, and for all the other things that are listed there are no longer valid. And therefore it is not justified to suggest that people should be killed because of those particular sins. That new covenant of Christ commands us that we are supposed to pray for all people, even those who are different from us, even those with whom we disagree with. In fact, in 2 Corinthians 5:20, the Bible tells us that we are, as Christians, ambassadors for Jesus Christ. That's our identity, and our mission is to proclaim the message of reconciliation. And so in a nutshell, that message is this: that all people on the planet, every single person, has committed crimes against God and deserves to be punished for those crimes. But God is willing to offer a pardon, and that pardon is extended to all people, and that's the message that we're supposed to give to everyone, including people who identify themselves as gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender. The message is that all people can be pardoned for their crimes that they've committed against God and eventually be made at peace with God. That's the message that we need to be communicating to all people, even to those who identify themselves as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender.